in hazardous confines much more manageable.
Warning, radiation field nearby.
Are these controls for the bay door?
Correct. The door was automatically sealed once containment protocols were breached. I would advise caution, Jack. Approaching a radiation field.
The facility appears to be in fairly poor condition, but there is at least some power flowing.
Due to the generator being restored.
Unfortunately, I'm still unable to access any systems further into the facility. Power flow stops at the entry terminal. It appears that the systems are outright disconnected, including the physical entry bridge. Jack, you'll need to reconnect those systems to gain entry to the facility.
Copy that. Room jutting into this cave. Could it be part of the biomass containment area?
Negative. The room you're seeing is part of the facility's integrity monitoring system, responsible for tracking any changes in the asteroid structure during excavation. For safety reasons, biomass containment is located much deeper in the facility.
This device looks vaguely similar to the cranes we saw in the transit hub.
Good eye, Jack. That's because it's an early version of the stasis field technology used by those cranes, as well as our cargo drones and many other systems. As you can imagine, the ability to manipulate objects without direct contact has significant advantages when dealing with the biomass.
Yes, advantages we continue to witness firsthand through Jack's grid projector.
Agreed. This appears to be some sort of focusing device. I haven't seen anything like it elsewhere on Chiron Station.
It's actually a prototype of the technology or containment units used to keep Dix pacified.
As in the technology that shorted out while Jack and I were trapped in the engineering bay.
Yes, though that was due to the power cycling abnormally. I assure you, it's usually quite stable.
Yeah, one would hope.
A scale model of the FTL drive on Dr. Harlan's ship. Was the drive developed here?
Not exactly. While the few FTL drives still in service were refitted here, the original design was actually reverse engineered from the FTL drives left behind aboard the Estrella. That was done by your former employer, in fact.
Wait, Atlas built them?
Indeed. Before the company dissolved, of course.
Century Atlas reverse engineered their own 26th century technology.
That sounds perfectly normal and not confusing.
I would expect nothing less from our employer, past, present, or otherwise.
Somewhat odd to leave this case empty.
It's fairly forward. Our work was never finished.
This bridge is currently disconnected, as part of the lockdown procedures.
Correct. The doors won't open until both sides of the bridge are fully extended.
Did they get everyone out?
According to these logs...
No. Not everyone got out.
It seems someone was emphatic about maintaining the lockdown. I'm guessing the console would have controlled the bridge.
Affirmative. I'm not seeing any backup controls in the blueprints, unfortunately. It's possible the cave contains systems not listed in the schematics. It may be worth a quick investigation. There was some BioMass research data in there. Just a small amount, but every bit helps with the cure.
These are auxiliary controls for the extension bridges.
Correct, but they're currently inoperable. The power conduit extending from the entrance to the main facility has been retracted, likely an attempt to contain the biomass spread. To restore power to the extension mechanisms, you will need to re-engage the power conduit to cross the gap.
Understood. I will locate and re-engage the conduit.
Just keep in mind that you'll also be restoring power to the main research facility, including any dormant biomass within.
Power switch located.
Re-establishing main generator connection. Be advised, Class 3 power fields will become active. Dormancy will be nullified.
Hey, Jack. I know you've got this, as always, but... by restoring power, we're undoing something that was put in place as a die-hard safety precaution.
We are certain this is the only place we're going to find a contained biomass?
Assuming these fragmented station logs are correct? Yes.
Well, that's reassuring.
Finalizing connection.
Connection established. Now receiving power readings throughout the facility. Jack, once you have the bridge fully extended, you should be able to access the facility proper. Though I suspect some areas may have additional security requirements.
Nora, the research director, would have done everything she could to contain the outbreak. but there is no containing it. This was an eventuality.
It's fortunate that your disagreement over priorities led you to be elsewhere when the outbreak occurred.
It's only fortunate if I'm right.
Dr. Harlan, if these power readings are accurate, our suspicions appear confirmed.
What's that now? What suspicions?
Educated guess, rather.
Which is different. How?
We were concerned that residual power currents may have allowed the biomass to continue spreading for some time after the lockdown.
Okay. And?
Webs have likely taken hold. Caution is advised, Jack.
Acknowledged. I'm crossing into the main facility now.
Copy that, Jack.
Biomass has taken hold here.
Given that we got this far, the rest of the facility will likely be much worse.
Will the fabricator still be operational?
Yes, at least enough that Jack should be able to reboot without issue.
In the security control room, we have another casualty.
According to logs, Adler Reyes.
He must have been trying to keep the scanners running to prevent the biomass from leaving the facility.
But if someone failed the scan...
They would have had to remain behind. Unfortunately, even the scanning room itself became contaminated.
You think that's how it spread to the rest of the station?
Most likely. With background contamination, the system would have had a difficult time producing accurate results.
Jack, you are now entering the facility's lobby. Biomass containment is located through the leftmost door.
Another one of the web forms. I still have no way to bypass.
Then try the labs. The research they were doing there might prove useful.
Electrical systems here are clearly suffering from extreme damage. The lobby's directory is effectively useless.
Good thing we've got someone who knows their way around.
Always happy to be of assistance, Captain.
I was actually talking about Dr. Harlan. But thanks.
I found another casualty of the biomass. In the lobby.
Dr. Brianna.
She was one of our pathologists.
Data recovery successful. She apparently died shortly after completing an emergency containment procedure. I'll play back the file.
To engage a Type 3 containment firebreak, please follow these steps. First, locate the access panel. To release it, slide it perpendicular to its housing. Please discard the panel safely. Next, grip the emergency disconnect switch. Pull it sharply. Local power systems should deactivate. Lastly, if you have any reason to believe that you are carrying an infection, please refrain from crossing the firebreak. Doing so will nullify its effect.
There's some kind of added security here.
Dr. Everett Harlan reporting. Authorized laboratory access.
Voice-activated authorization. That's a smart security feature.
Thank you. And you're welcome.
This switch controls power for this hallway. This must be the emergency disconnect Dr. Leamington pulled to try and slow the outbreak.
Really did all they could to try and get the infestation under control.
They knew once it was out, they couldn't stop it. All they could do was buy time for everyone else on the station.
Biological specimens.
The director was always in here. Dissecting, testing. She was tireless.
She She must have had a cast iron stomach.
One of the toughest people I have ever known.
What sort of research were they doing here?
The director was convinced a cure was impractical. So she poured everything into containment technology.
Did she have any luck?
When I left, she had everyone working on miniaturizing the insulation cloaking from our containment unit. I'm not sure how far they got.
I assume these microscopes were used to observe the biomass.
I believe so, yes.
Development of the biomass containment technology required research at the macro, micro, and even nanoscopic scales.
With these microscopes, the researchers would have been able to observe the effect of their containment technology in real time, with a more manageable sample size, of course.
It must have been a heavy responsibility to work so closely with live biomass samples.
It was not without its risks.
So, would you say it was more or less risky than intentionally infecting your own FTL drive?
If you have any less precarious solutions, Captain, I'm all ears.
This transparent aluminum is reinforced.
Unfortunately, that's still not enough to withstand concerted biomass growth.
These controls are running some sort of automated procedure.
The system is no longer reachable over the network. Cut off by the biomass, no doubt. It must be an old test, abandoned during the outbreak and resumed now that we've restored power.
Is this some type of emitter?
It looks to be a functional prototype. I knew they were close, but I didn't know they had moved into practical testing. The basic concept was to surround the biomass with a cloak of electromagnetic insulation, preventing energy from reaching it.
Kind of like using a blanket to smother a flame.
Indeed. The idea was to build these cloak emitters as a reactive defense against the biomass, to contain it.
That could have a wide array of tactical applications.
It's a starlight based, not a solution. I wish you could have seen that.
This web is preventing me from further exploring the labs. Perhaps I can use one of these cloak emitters. I wonder if they moved this prototype into production.
Even if they did, it clearly wasn't enough to stop an outbreak. This is why we need a cure.
Is this a control interface?
That's right, for the robotic arm in the adjoining chamber. Use the holographic controls to adjust each part of the articulation.
The glass is broken. I'm afraid your former workplace has seen better days, Doctor.
External spread was what breached the chamber.
It appears the entire facility became one contiguous test chamber.
And that too was breached.
Biomass at the exit neutralized.
It's possible I failed to foresee some of the Cloak emitter's eventual implications.
Sounds like your research director was on the right track.
Nora. She never gave up. I could hardly ever pull her away from her work.
Dr. Harlan, if I may interject, the local data I'm seeing implies that the director's efforts to develop cloak emitters proceeded beyond prototyping. Portable versions were installed in some of the X3 medtech shells. Several of these shells appear to have been left behind in the medical wing.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
I believe it may be possible to fit Jack with a similar device, a portable cloak emitter.
What is involved?
I'll need you to retrieve the data from one of the medtech shells here. With that, I should be able to reconstruct the portable cloak emitter's design.
Copy that. I'll see what I can find.
Jack, this is the primary examination room, where prototype cures were administered to volunteers. Dr. Harlan, you'll be pleased to know that your old workplace remains unaffected by the outbreak. Dr. Harlan?
That's good to hear, Juno. Thanks.
There's a fair bit of data here. It should prove useful in our efforts to develop a cure. Good find, Jack.
This log indicates a multitude of visitors. Some were children.
Yes. Many of the station's personnel had families. Most of their children were suitably behaved. Some were not. Still, I hope they reached safety.
These medical beds were used for diagnostic scans?
And to monitor potential treatments. Many of my peers focused on post-diagnosis options.
What sort of options?
Pain management, transmission reduction. Though most patients with terminal diagnosis volunteered for cure research.
Wait. There are diagnoses that aren't terminal.
If the infection is limited to the extremities and has not yet penetrated the epidermis, amputation has a roughly 40% success rate.
In emergencies, the integrated cutter, equipped by several models of the X3 shell, including Jack's, can be...
No. That's enough. Forget I asked.
This toy appears to have been left behind.
Brendan Lyles. It has to be. That boy was always leaving his toys about. A habit he does not appear to have corrected in my absence. I am glad he made it out, though. Perhaps not being able to return for it this time has taught him a lesson.
It's more likely he has simply fabricated a new one.
Shush, Juno.
I'll need to manually open this door. I assume it was shut down as another precaution?
Most likely. If the medtech shells have data we can use to reconstruct a portable cloak emitter, it will be worth the risk.
I'm entering the medical lab.
Doctor, perhaps you should step away for a moment. I'm sure there's still plenty of output data to parse before we're ready to initiate the experiment.
She's here, isn't she? Juno?
More than likely, yes.
Who? The research director?
I can handle it, Juno.
Are you certain?
I'm not looking away.
A keypad for the duct. It may provide a means to circumvent some of this biomass, if I can find the code. This device indeed appears to be a portable cloak emitter. Juno, I believe your conjecture was correct.
Naturally. If you scan the shell's data port, I believe I can create a similar device for you. Cloak emitter module identified. Unfortunately, the data contained in this shell is only partial. Jack, to complete the reconstruction, I'll need you to scan additional units.
Understood. I found another casualty.
It appears he was trying to assist right up until the end.
A further casualty of the biomass.
Dr. Jordan Dechi. She specialized in pain management therapy for the infected.
Who was this person?
Dr. Franklin Teller, a fellow geneticist. I knew all of them.
I found another casualty of the biomass. This researcher seems to have been helping the other one.
Dr. Adriana Lay.
She was too young for this.
I've recovered her research. It also seems she received from Dr. McKenna with all of his access codes attached. Would you like me to play it?
Affirmative.
Beginning playback.
Hey, Adriana. I know I can count on you to look out for everyone. So I'm sending you my access codes. They should get you into my stuff and a few engineering areas. A spare rations, playing cards, whatever else. If any of it helps even a little bit, please, take it. Share it. I figure it might make things a little more comfortable for you all.
Trev, prepare for departure.
Shit, I gotta go. I have no idea how to end this. Good luck. No. Goodbye.
End of message.
Could one of Dr. McKenna's codes work on that keypad Jack saw?
I believe so, yes. Jack, I'll add the code to your own computer.
Ducks granted. Moving through the vents now.
Tell me something, Doctor. How long does it take
What?
for the infection to run its course?
Once it becomes fully active, usually somewhere between 3 to 5 days. But most victims opt to expedite their end.
Right. So, how does the infection work once it becomes active? I mean...
The biomass drains energy directly from your cells. Your body is in the throes of widespread cellular decay. Major organ failure follows 12 to 18 hours later. But at least by then you are not in as much pain, since the infection has likely started feeding on the electrical signals traveling through your nervous system. By day 4 you've...
Right. I get the picture.
Liv, that's not going to happen to you.
Yeah,
Whatever it takes, we'll find a solution.
I know, Jack.
Excellent. That shell contained more data regarding the portable emitters. We'll need a good bit more to reconstruct the design, though. Scan complete. We still need more data. Interesting. Doctor, this shell has a long conversation regarding the director and your research.
Go ahead, Junior.
Beginning playback.
Alright, Unit 5, back to the lab. The director wants to run those simulations again.
Query. For what purpose?
I'm not sure. Dr. Harlan's ideas were intriguing, to say the least, but, well, I suppose the director knows best. Go ahead and prep the simulations. I'll join you shortly.
Acknowledge. Dr. McKenna.
Oh. So the director eventually explored your theories after all?
I didn't expect she would continue it after I left. But without the biomasses-based genetic material, it would have been as much of a dead end as containment. I just couldn't convince her.
I found another arm equipped with a cloak emitter, a backup safety measure.
More than likely. But that's the problem. The biomass can't be contained, no matter how many redundancies you put in place.
Controls for the nearby cloak emitter. Fortunately, they're still operational.
My reconstruction of the personal cloak emitter is nearly complete. One more scan should be sufficient. Data collection complete. Finalizing tool reconstruction. Reconstruction complete. Please visit a fabricator to cloak emitter. Cloak emitter installation successful. This portable version is practically identical to the using thus far.
Excellent. A tool like this will make it much easier to get around.
Just keep in mind that its effective range had to be reduced to achieve portability. If you move too far away from your target, the tool will deactivate.
Ah. Noted. Patient chart reveals catastrophic cellular breakdown.
Possibly an internal infection that lasted with the tissue.
Does that happen in every case?
Eventually, but the host is usually deceased by then.
Well, that's a relief.
In this chamber, we have another casualty.
Based on the logs, Dr. Chandra Miles.
She was one of the few who subscribed to my theories on the cure. I always appreciated her insight.
She's alone. Why aren't there any medtechs here?
She must have the other patients. Of course she did.
This data includes a message from the research director, addressed to you, Dr. Harlan.
Hey, Juno.
Perhaps I could store it for a later time once we're...
Juno.
Of course, Doctor. Beginning playback.
Everett? I don't know if you'll ever find this, but I wanted to get it out before... well, before things get any worse. If you do manage to find this, well, then you know what's happened. I suppose the good news is you caught the Emitter devil, which, if I'm not mistaken, means you owe me dinner. Everett, listen to me. I know you. I know you're going to try to put all this on yourself somehow. Make yourself believe there was something you had done had you been here, but it's not true. You understand? Don't go trying to carry that. All new development cure was virtually impossible. No one here was waiting to be saved. You're leaving. You're already doing everything you could do to try and stop this. I miss you, Everett. Be safe. I love you. Goodbye.
I'm so sorry, Harlan.
I too am sorry. It's clear you meant a great deal to one another.
She was a good person. She deserved a better resting place than this.
There's another voice-activated control panel here.
Additional security for the BioMass containment area. It requires the voice authorization of a high-ranking official.
Well, we've got Dr. Harlan, right? Let's get that door open.
My authorization won't be enough. We'll need someone with higher clearance.
The research director.
After a lockdown, she'd be the only one able to enter containment.
With a large enough sample of the director's vocal modulations, I should be able to synthesize her voice.
We've got a log of her final moments. That's not enough?
Unfortunately, no. And inaccurately synthesizing her voice could lock us out permanently. We'll need more vocal data.
Great. So, we're stuck then?
Pull up my personal archive, Juno. There's just one file there.
You're sure, Dr. Harlan?
Go on.
Beginning playback.
I'm not going to be able to change your mind, am I?
You know I wouldn't leave unless I had...
It's okay. A kill would change everything. You're not wrong about that. I just wish...
I know, Nora. Me too. I won't be long.
That should be enough for me to synthesize the director's voice.
Do it.
This is Dr. Nora PARIKH. Authorized containment access.
Juno?
Yes, sir?
Never do that again.
Sir?
I'm entering what appears to be an excavation site.
You are correct. It's the only remaining route to the biomass containment area. We should be able to find our sample there.
Acknowledged.
Is this containment area where the outbreak started?
Most likely. I'll continue parsing logs to see if I can determine what happened.
I'm sure that's not necessary.
Do it. I need to know.
Of course, Doctor.
I assume these barriers were set up while construction was taking place.
Correct. Data files show a series of tunnels extending beyond the barriers.
The scale of these excavations seems to far exceed our mining efforts back on the Kronos 2.
Absolutely. Though, this excavation was done to leverage the asteroid's bulk as a protective layer against the biomass. Any valuable mineral extractions were merely a byproduct.
Does most of humanity have to live like this? Underground, so to speak?
For several generations now.
I'm sorry. We'll find a cure. We have to.
Were these excavators being used to expand the containment area?
I can't be certain, but given the advancements made in insulation cloaking technology, I imagine they would have been trying to ramp up testing or possibly even production. Undoubtedly, that would have required taking in more samples than the facility was currently equipped to contain.
Could that be what caused the accident?
Possibly. If the research team was indeed rushing to complete work on the cloaking tech, then it is possible certain containment systems were overtaxed.
I should have been here.
Then you'd be dead too. And so would we, probably.
I would still be here. For a while, at least.
I'm detecting a tick up ahead.
Would my cloak emitter be effective?
I believe so. And the device's range should allow you to cloak the tick before it detects you.
Cloaking successful.
All this advanced tech, and the biomass still broke containment.
Yes. This is why eliminating the biomass is our only option.
I'm approaching a large opening. There is a conveyance system installed overhead.
That is how newly arriving containment units were transferred into main storage. Local telemetry indicates a significant biomass presence throughout the area. Containment certainly failed here.
Acknowledged. I will proceed with caution.
There is a wealth of data here. Much of it will be useful for our work on developing a cure. Good find.
This container must have lost power at some point. Unfortunately, it appears its contents have escaped. How certain are we that a functional container is still here?
Based on the logs, one stock container arrived shortly before the lockdown.
Hopefully, it remains intact. This large door has been rendered inoperable by the biomass.
As I suspected, it leads to the main storage area. Any biomass samples in there won't be reachable, if they're even still contained, that is.
There is an X3 shell encased in biomass. Shall I scan its data port?
It is likely to possess details about the outbreak.
Then do it.
Data retrieved. I believe the synthetic using this shell was indeed present for the initial containment failure. I'll play the log.
Director PARIKH.
Yes, Unit.
A Category 4 containment breach is in progress.
What?
Origin uncertain. Multiple ticks are unrestrained in the conveyance shaft. I am beginning to lock down.
Have any personnel had direct contact?
Several. I sacrificed my shell to prevent immediate fatality. I'm in the process of reprinting with a portable Cloak emitter.
All right, I'll triage the infected in the med labs.
Your SIG telemetry indicates you are not wearing a helmet. To avoid dying,
I'll find one. Just prioritize personal evacuation, then lock down the entire containment area, especially main storage.
acknowledged, Doctor.
Nora, why did you...
She did her best. She tried to... No, she did help everyone. I'm sure that without her...
It doesn't matter. Without a cure, none of it matters.
Well, then... we know what we have to do.
Agreed.
There is an electrical transformer here. Its power field appears to be keeping all nearby biomass active.
Any chance there's a bypass hooked up to it?
Effectively? No. That subsystem has been consumed by the biomass.
Lovely.
I cloaked one of the sensors on this web, but it's not having the same effect as before.
One of? How many sensors does this web have?
At least 4.
Then this web must have been cultivating here for some time. It's possible this is where the outbreak originated.
Unfortunately, Jack, your cloak emitter cannot sustain enough insulation fields to blind all of those sensors.
There must be something else we can do.
Agreed. I'll find a way to retract the web. If you can't cloak the sensors, cloak the power source.
Oh, nicely done, Jack.
That was unexpected. I'll need just a moment to further analyze the reconstructed targeting software. Ah, I see it now. The cloak emitter should be able to target power sources as well, as long as they're sufficiently compact.
Copy that. Proceeding through the... Is this the cargo bay?
Yes, and our containment unit is indeed intact.
I'm still prepping the intake system. Should be ready by the time the container gets here, though. I'm assuming we have what we need.
Readings show a full complement of ticks within. So, yes, Captain, we have what we need.
I am hesitant to consider that need fulfilled until we successfully move the container out of the facility.
Fair enough. We'll send a cargo drone for pickup once you're ready.
Acknowledged. I'll get the door. Collecting these ticks could not have been easy.
The X3 synthetics did lose many shares in the process, but they performed their function.
A way to release the container?
That is correct.
Good eye, Jack. But best wait on that. I don't want our one and only container floating around bumping into things. Let's just focus on opening the bay door for now.
Copy that. Does this crane meet the size requirements for the cloak emitter?
Unlikely. However, I suspect it is more useful without insulation anyway.
A power transformer. Much of the nearby biomass is feeding on it. Are these the controls for the bay door?
Correct.
Exterior bay door opened.
Copy that. We'll send over a cargo drone to retrieve the container. Shouldn't take too long.
Jack, we'll just need you to manually release the container once the drone has secured it.
Acknowledged. I'll head to the cargo bay.
Let's see. Moderate store of data, but much of it could prove useful in developing a cure. Good find, Jack. This is the administration area. Once past the next hallway, Jack, you'll be back in the cargo bay.
These controls are offline. Can this door be bypassed?
I'm afraid not. However, as a precaution, this area runs on a localized power grid. If you can find a way to restore that grid, the door should become operable.
A battery, probably for maintaining the local power grid. Unfortunately, this battery lacks power. There must be a recharge socket nearby. Now that this battery has a charge, it is emitting a power field. This web must be sensing the battery's power field.
Indeed. Any substantial power field will awaken all forms of biomass from dormancy.
Nicely done. Starting to get a feel for that Cloak emitter on the
It is quite effective.
That is indisputable at this point. And it has brought us that much closer to a cure. For that alone, we should be grateful.
In this corridor, I found another casualty. 2, in fact.
Dr. Stephen Garrick and Senior Technician Avery Park.
Seems they were left behind in the evacuation.
I doubt that. If they're here, it's probably because they chose to stay.
What do you mean?
I knew these people. Every researcher here understood what an outbreak would mean, that they would have to do whatever was necessary to try and protect the rest of the station.
I've nearly made it back to the cargo bay.
Good to hear, Jack. The drone should be there shortly.
Jack, the cargo drone will be unable to retrieve the container until it's released from the loading pallet. There should be a release mechanism near the container.
Container released.
Confirmed. Container primed for departure.
It will need to be hooked up once it gets here, Jack. Care to give it the final touch?
I believe I would, yes. I doubt the procedure will take long.
Okay then. See you in a few.
Container departing in T-10 seconds. Jack, if you're planning on accompanying the container, now would be a good time to take hold. Cargo drone is departing in 3, 2, 1. Igniting thrusters. Jack, I hope you don't mind. I've switched us to another comms channel for a moment. I have a somewhat personal question to ask you. Do you mind?
Go ahead, Juno.
Captain Rhodes, she considers you a friend, yes?
Yes, that is correct.
How do you know?
In the time I have known Captain Rhodes, she has consistently demonstrated behaviors that suggest she values my company, trusts my insights, and harbors a great concern for my overall well-being.
I see.
Why do you ask?
I'm trying to discern if Dr. Harlan considers me a friend. Biometrics indicate he is still experiencing some distress, but I'm unsure if it would be appropriate for me to console him. What is your assessment?
Based on my observations, I believe Dr. Harlan considers you a friend. He will appreciate your efforts, even if he does not outwardly display it.
Thank you, Jack. I agree with your assessment. I will do what I can to help the doctor feel better. Wait, did we just become friends?
I suppose we did.
Splendid. I'll return comms to the public channel now. Cargo now approaching the dock. Beginning descent.
Hey there, Jack. Good to see you're in peace. Same deal as before. Hook up controls near the cargo clamps.
BioMass container in place and ready to be secured.
Go ahead, Jack.
These containment units are quite effective. The ticks appear well pacified. How will we safely transfer them into the ship?
We've modified an to flush them directly into the engineering bay. It should be much safer than attempting a controlled breakout.
Slight deviation from the original accident, but for the added safety, worth it.
BioMass containers secured in place.
Copy that. System check, Juno. How did we do?
Systems nominal. Both the fuel cell and biomass container are secure and fully engaged with the ship's intake systems.
Well, Jack, looks like things are wrapped up here. No need for you to rush back, though. I'm not exactly eager to send you hurtling through time again.
Of course.
So, Dr. Harlan could always use more data for his research, if you'd like to continue exploring the station.
Copy that, Juno.
Hello, Jack. If you're looking for the captain, she's in the workshop with Dr. Harlan. It's good to look on the bright side.
What is that?
A motion detection system?
One of several independent sensors rigged to trigger detonation.
Jack, there you are.
Good. He's finally here.
Dr. Harlan and I were just giving this torpedo the once-over while we waited.
Learn anything useful?
Yeah, it's a death trap.
Not that that's anything he has to worry about. Now then, are we ready to begin?
Affirmative. I'm ready. That is assuming all the details have been sorted out.
Yes, everything's in order. Let's proceed.
Hold on. There's still some particulars that need ironing out here.
There are always going to be unknowns. That's just something we have to accept.
Let's assume this works. Let's assume we open another anomaly and send Jack's consciousness back to the past. What exactly is he supposed to do when he gets there?
Locate an undetonated biomass torpedo and sample the genetic material inside.
So you can use the data to create a cure. Right. I get that. I'm saying, how is he supposed to do it? It's not like he can physically bring the sample back with him. And if he's in a combat shell, it won't be fitted to do a medical scan. How will he collect the data?
He'll have to improvise, of course.
Apollo?
Greetings, Captain Rhodes. As the situation and would like to propose a solution.
It's good to see you too.
We can exchange more formal pleasantries later if you like, Captain. For now, if you would please proceed to the holotable.
Apollo, is this one of your AI cores?
Affirmative. Once I became aware of the salvage attempts on the Estrella, I began disabling intruding equipment with a suite of electronic countermeasures. Apparently, this core was taken before my defenses were in place.
Well, now that you're here, will you disable whatever protocols it's using to prevent access?
Negative. It is still imperative that I minimize the distribution of the Estrella's classified technology. Of course, should this particular element prove relevant in stopping the biomass, I will lift the restriction at that time.
Very well.
What can you tell us about the biomass, Doctor?
Very little. Far less than one would hope.
Humanity has lived with this organism for 400 years. We must have learned something.
Well, we know it's not actually a single organism. Once it's released into an environment, the biomass immediately begins evolving. It's diversifying into a variety of distinct species, all stemming from the same base element.
Then it's an entire ecosystem.
That is the prevailing theory.
What about its origins? Where did the biomass come from?
That is the more troubling question, isn't it? We know the Estrella carried the biomass into this timeline, but as to its true origins, we only have theories and conjecture, no conclusive facts. In truth, I'm not sure it's a question I need answered. Whoever engineered the biomass, they either still exist or they don't. Both possibilities are equally terrifying.
Dr. Harlan, how well do you understand the internal mechanism of these biotorpedoes?
The mechanism? Only enough to know that as part of its detonation process, it catalyzes the base genetic material within to create a stream of infectious spores.
Yes, I have witnessed that event firsthand.
But you are certain you have seen a torpedo prior to that stage? One that has not detonated yet?
Yes, several in fact.
Good.
All right, Apollo, let's hear it. How does Jack get the data from the biomass incubator?
According to Jack's memory logs, the last anomaly caused his protocols to transfer into a Series 10 combat shell. This unit was equipped with a threat scanner, which could be reconfigured to gather data on biomass specimens.
Once we've successfully located a BioMass torpedo, I will repurpose his threat scanner to collect data from the incubator inside. The collected data should then easily transfer back with us.
It will be good to have your expertise.
You're going too?
A copy of my protocols has already been integrated into Jack's architecture. I see no reason why we would not be transported together.
And how do we know you'll be transported to the right time and place?
If we create an anomaly precisely the same way as we did before, isn't it reasonable to assume we would get a similar result?
That would be my assessment as well, based on our previous experience. So long as we closely replicate the conditions that caused your previous jump through time, I expect the result to be nearly identical.
In other words, they should arrive at roughly the same time and place where Android first saw the torpedo.
And once they've got the data, how do we get them back?
If the experience is anything like before, my consciousness should return automatically.
That is our assessment as well. Dr. Harlan and I believe Jack's time in the past is directly correlated to the state of the FTL drive. In essence, Jack, the longer the drive here remains active, the more time you'll have in the past.
We'll keep it running for as long as we can. Give you as much time as possible.
The Astrea's fuel cell is exceedingly efficient and will most likely last long enough for us to locate an incubator and collect the relevant data.
Once we disengage the FTL, you should be returned to the present time.
Should? You're gonna have to do a bit better than should.
This is time travel we're talking about. All we have our best guesses.
Liv, there's far too much that we do not know about how these anomalies work, but your safety is my primary concern, and this is your best chance of survival.
This is the only way we get a cure. The only way we survive. You, me, everyone.
All right, Jack. You've clearly made up your mind already. I just wish we had a better plan than shoving you in an anomaly and hoping it all works out.
Juno, prep the engineering bay.
Right away, Doctor.
Jack?
It's all right, Liv. I've done this before.
Once. By accident.
I'm sure I'll be fine.
I don't know if you're being naive or just really optimistic. Just make sure you come back safely, all right?
Is that an order, Captain?
Well, technically we're both captains, remember? But yes, that is an order.
Acknowledged, Captain. I will do everything in my power to return safely.
The engineering bay is prepped and ready.
Good. Seal all the ship's bulkheads. We cannot risk any accidental contamination once we begin.
Of course, Doctor. Jack, please enter the control room and the engineering bay below. This way. Are you saying hello or goodbye? It's good to look on the bright side. The control room is right through this door. Sealing the engineering bay now. Engineering bay sealed.
Dr. Harlan? Any inspiring words?
No.
We all believe in you, Jack. To varying degrees.
Your confidence is appreciated.
Can we get started?
Right away, Doctor. Jack, please adjust the dials to connect the fuel cell conduits to the drive core. First conduit connection complete. Both conduit connections are complete.
Good. We are ready to release the ticks into the engineering bay. Once you engage the FTL, they should begin feeding on it and create an anomaly, just like before.
Jack, are you ready for us to release the techs?
Ready to proceed, Juno.
Acknowledged.
Were the lights supposed to turn off like that?
Don't worry. We're just rerouting power so the ticks can only feed on the FTL drive. Stand by. Releasing tick specimens.
Well, I certainly seem to have their attention.
Once you engage the drive, they should be drawn to the FTL. All systems are prime. Awaiting ignition.
Do it. Engage FTA. Now.
FTL drive engaged. BioMass FTL interaction confirmed. The ticks are affecting the drive stability.
Here goes. Stay safe, Jack.
Of course, Liv.
Anomalous readings detected.
Take care of him, Apollo.
I shall do my utmost, Captain.
Anomalous readings measured.
Good luck, Jack.
We have arrived. What is your status?
Core systems appear operational.
Good. We must keep in mind, this combat shell was not designed for biomass engagement. Any contact with the infestation will render us immediately inoperable.
Where should we begin searching?
Undetermined. I'll scan the area for identifiable landmarks.
I recognize this ship. It belongs to Delta Squad.
I would no longer qualify this as a ship.
Kronos 2 wreckage. Currently assessing biotorpedoes in the area.
There's that transmission again. I recognize this unit as Delta 6.
Interesting. It appears this Delta 6 has already located several torpedoes. Reaching their location may be our most expedient option.
They said they're located at the wreckage of the Kronos 2. How far are we?
At minimum, we are within comms range. The distance should be manageable. We should first clear ourselves of this debris, then see if the signal strengthens. However, we should check your equipment before we go. I will do my best to keep this expedient. Let's begin with your shielding. Similar to the improved multispectral shielding of your X-3 shell, this combat unit's shield is equipped to regenerate. However, unlike its more advanced counterpart, it requires a significant delay before it can begin regeneration. A suitable trade-off, given the situation.
Understood.
Next is your armament. This unit is equipped with an M19C repeater, designation Pulsar. Jack, are you comfortable wielding a firearm?
I'm accustomed to operating new tools. I'm certain learning to use this armament will be no different.
Very well. I shall construct a brief simulation so that you may familiarize yourself with the device. Your armament is now unlocked. Open fire on the targets. Targets eliminated. Unfortunately, should we encounter ticks, it is unlikely they will be quite so docile. These targets should provide a closer approximation to tick activity. As such, successfully hitting a given target may require you to aim ahead of its movement. The ionized bolts of your armament are surprisingly slow, though I suppose that is acceptable for weaponry of this century. Jack, Notably, each firing of your weapon causes a portion of energy to be retained as excess heat. Without sufficient time to cool, this buildup will exceed maximum operating temperature, leading to an emergency venting cycle.
Can this be averted?
Yes, firing in controlled bursts is the most efficient way to do so. However, you may use the button on your wrist to manually vent any heat within the unit. But this choice should be made tactically. The weapon will remain inoperable while venting.
Understood.
Excellent. We need to inspect your threat scanner.
It's what we'll use to scan the biomass's base genetic material, correct?
Indeed. However, until we locate a viable torpedo, we shall instead rely on its original functionality, identifying nearby hostiles. To that end, I have optimized the device's settings to our mission parameters. Once activated, it will emit a single sensor pulse, followed by a brief recharge cycle. Try doing so now. Hostile identified. A tick just beyond the bulkhead. It appears dormant for the time being.
Can it be avoided?
Given the surrounding topography, no. Though your strategy is sound. Armament from this era won't be particularly effective against any form of the biomass.
Very well. I am ready to engage. Can you unlock the harness?
Done. Now that you are free, I must advise, operating your firearm will produce substantial recoil. I strongly encourage you to brace by maintaining a firm grip on nearby surfaces.
Acknowledged.